Oh yes, Florida's Gulf Coast. Clearwater Beach to be exact. Florida's Gulf Coast is one of the few places in the nation where boomers can get along just fine with the younger generations. You know, it's tough to be mad at the world here. You don't see people screaming at kids to get off their lawn or people bickering about the lack of work ethic among millennials and Gen Zers, as there's a perfect setting of weather and beautiful beaches. You see smiles on people's faces here everywhere you look. Unless you're driving, of course, because the traffic on some of these roads can be something different, I tell you. And if you've been here, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyway, speaking of traffic, we don't have time for this mess, so let's speed things up. It took me an entire 20 minutes to go a mile and a half when entering Clearwater Beach, and that's typical for this time of the year, as I visited in early March when spring break season started to peak. But it's jam-packed for a reason, and it's not hard to see why Florida's Gulf Coast beaches are popular, especially during this time of the year, as people from the northern states come down to escape the doom and gloom wintry weather. I was one of those, as I'm from Michigan, which, by the way, I saw a lot of Michigan license plates while I was here. Not that too many of you care, but I also wore a University of Michigan shirt for one of the days that I was here, and while I was walking around the beaches, the fact that I was wearing a Michigan shirt struck up conversations with many people. Anyway, for this video, I drive from Clearwater Beach all the way down to Fort DeSoto Park, and I'll tell you about all of the beach towns that I drive through along the way. Really quick, as if you enjoy this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, as doing all of those things helps these videos destroy the evil monster that is the YouTube algorithm. Also make sure to hit that notification bell so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. So here we're driving through Clearwater Beach, which is a part of the city of Clearwater. Many of the other beach communities that we'll drive through in this video are their own cities. Anyway, Clearwater, along with Tampa and St. Petersburg, combined to form one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country. You can see here that back in 2000, the area was home to 2.4 million people, whereas today, 3.1 million people live in the area. And despite all of the talk about climate change, the population growth won't be slowing down anytime soon. Clearwater Beach is one of the more developed beach communities that we'll be passing through in this video, as it's full of high-rise condos and hotels. More than 6.5 million tourists visit Clearwater Beach annually. Clearwater, along with the other beach communities that we'll pass through in this video, are popular for their white sand and clear blue water, and unlike the beaches on Florida's Atlantic coast, on the Gulf Coast, you can see the sunset, which makes most of the evenings spent on this side of the state that much better. As you can imagine, owning real estate in Clearwater Beach is going to cost you, as nearly every listing is over $1 million. Half of them are listed for over $2 million. Residential demand only continues to grow along the Gulf Coast, and Clearwater Beach is one of the few in the Tampa Bay area that has allowed developers to build an abundance of high-rises. And as you'll see throughout the rest of the video, some of the other communities don't have near as much development. If you're looking for a nice spot for a vacation, however, Clearwater Beach would be a good choice, as much of the beach is geared towards tourists with plenty of hotels, restaurants, shopping, and of course, a nice, large, white sand beach. Now we're heading over the bridge that connects Clearwater Beach with Sand Key, and a small part of Sand Key is also a part of the city of Clearwater. Sand Key is a fairly large island, and we'll be on it throughout the majority of this video as it features several smaller cities as we head further south on it. Sand Key Park is located in the far northern section of Sand Key, and if you're looking for a nice beach to relax at, away from all of the crowds at Clearwater Beach, Sand Key Park is a great choice for leisure. In fact, this is where I happen to spend several hours during one of the days of my week-long visit. If you come stay here, you'll have a $5 parking fee regardless of how long you stay, whereas in Clearwater Beach, you'll likely have to pay much more if you're staying for more than an hour. So I didn't realize at the time, but there's actually some dolphins in the water that I was able to capture while flying the drone. Unfortunately, I couldn't get better shots of it because I didn't realize that there were dolphins in the water while I was flying the drone. Otherwise, I would have tried to have recorded some better shots. Oh well, it's kind of hard to see the screen sometimes with the sun beating down right on it, but yeah, dolphins, people. Now we're in Belleair Beach, which is a community that typically has nothing to worry about other than fighting umbrella bans on the beach. Just over 1,500 people live here, and the median value of owner-occupied housing units in Belleair Beach is $736,000. The median Belleair Beach household brings in over $100,000 per year. As you can imagine, however, the majority of the residents are retirees. Belleair Beach doesn't have quite the hustle as Clearwater Beach does to the north, as it has a much quieter feel. The height limit for buildings in town are set at 35 feet, which is why you don't see any tall high-rises here. So with that said, most of Belleair Beach is single-family housing. Very expensive single-family housing at that. So yes, basically Belleair Beach isn't geared towards tourism, as there's plenty of other places for that. Belleair Beach isn't to be confused with Belleair Shore, however, which consists of only a single row of houses between Gulf Boulevard and the water to the right of us. Only 109 people are residents of Belleair Shore. I guess the oceanfront property owners here back in 1955 wanted to have their own separate municipality from Belleair Beach? Weird. Now we're in Indian Rocks Beach, which is pretty much the same as Belleair Beach, only a little bit larger. Indian Rocks Beach has more condos and apartments and is home to just over 4,000 people. The median value of owner-occupied housing units in Indian Rocks Beach is $536,000 compared to Belleair Beach, where the median value was over $700,000. The median household income here is $83,000 per year as well. And clearly, the height limit in Indian Rocks Beach isn't as strict as it is in Belleair Beach, as there are some slightly taller condominium complexes here. There's also more of a touristy feel to Indian Rocks Beach than what we saw in Belleair Beach, although nothing quite like what we saw in Clearwater Beach at the beginning of the video. Now we're in Indian Shores, which is basically an extension of Indian Rocks Beach, as they both look and feel the same. Indian Shores is home to around 1,000 people, and the median value of owner-occupied housing units is $435,000. The median household income is $92,000 per year, and just like with the other communities that we've seen in this video, most of the residents are retirees. With that said, life overall here appears to be all good and dandy.
Heard this beat in my dream.
This is the site of Tiki Gardens, which used to be a Polynesian theme park. The park opened in 1964 and closed in the 1980s, and since the closure it's been a parking lot for public beach access. Now we're in Redington Shores, which is home to 2,000 people. You can also see that the buildings continue to get a little bit taller the further south we go. The median value of owner-occupied housing units in Redington Shores is $500,000, and the median household income is $83,000 per year. There are 3 separate municipalities that we'll go through that all use the name of Redington in some way, and all 3 of them are the same size, and all 3 look and feel the same. The name of Redington originates from a road builder in Indiana, actually, that moved down to the area in 1935. That guy's name being Charles Redington. Redington ended up buying 1,700 feet of Gulf frontage where he built a hotel and a bath club, both of which were completed in 1936. The 3 communities saw a spark in development throughout the 1940s and 50s, as the hotel and bath club ended up being popular spots. Sometimes the 3 communities are referred to as the Redington Strip, and the way that the Redington Strip became 3 different cities is due to the fact that they originally started out as neighborhoods that all had their own identities. During the 1950s, the town lines were drawn out, and it stayed the same ever since. Moving along in our tour of all the beach communities in Pinellas County is Madeira Beach, sometimes referred to as Mad Beach. Madeira Beach is home to around 4,000 people. The median value of owner-occupied housing units is $494,000, while the median household income is $60,000 per year. Huge surprise, as most of the community is made up of retirees. The community began to develop in the 1920s and 30s as a fishing village. And this bridge connects Madeira Beach on the far southern end of Sand Key with Treasure Island. The waterway underneath is called John's Pass. John's Pass was actually created by a hurricane on September 27, 1848, and is named after a pirate, John Levique, who was the first to sail through John's Pass. Treasure Island is not only its own island, but it's also a city. Treasure Island today is home to just over 6,000 people. The median value of owner-occupied housing units is $416,000, while the median household income is $79,000 per year. Do I need to say that most of the island is made up of retirees? Yeah? No? Well, it's made up of mostly retirees. Treasure Island started to be developed in the early 1900s. Story has it that the original landowners tried to boost sales by burying and quote-unquote discovering wooden chests on the beach that were filled with treasure. Sounds like a bunch of scummy scam artists if you ask me. Also sounds like a bunch of gullible and foolish people. However, that's how the place got its name. And throughout the 1950s, there was a large surge in residential and hotel construction, and today, well, the island is completely developed. And this is St. Pete Beach, which is its own city. Just under 9,000 people live here today, and the median value of owner-occupied housing units is $531,000, while the median household income is $95,000 per year. Most of the residents are retirees, but you can see an equal amount of young people and doucheroos, as St. Pete Beach is very tourist-friendly, unlike some of the other beach towns that we've come across in this video, such as Belleair Beach. St. Pete Beach is more so like Clearwater Beach in that regard. The biggest difference between St. Pete Beach and Clearwater Beach is that there aren't near as many towering high-rises and hotels. St. Pete Beach was incorporated as a city in 1957 with the consolidation of the prior towns of Passagril, Don Cesar, Bella Vista, and St. Petersburg Beach. In fact, after the consolidation, this place was technically called St. Petersburg Beach until the name changed to St. Pete Beach on March 9, 1994, to distinguish itself from St. Petersburg.
Heard this beat in my dream.
The pink building that you see here is the Don Cesar Resort, which originally opened in 1928 before most of the Gulf Shore was developed. After the original owner Thomas Rowe passed away, the hotel fell into disrepair until it was purchased by the Army to be used as a military hospital in 1942. In 1945, at the end of World War II, the hotel was used as a VA headquarters until the government abandoned the property in 1969. At this time, the building was in really bad shape. In 1971, residents joined together to save the building from being torn down, and renovations began during the next year. In 1974, the building was added to the National Register of Historic Places, and today it's used as a popular resort hotel. The Don Cesar has also been used as a backdrop in multiple films, and there's been many celebrities and presidents who have stayed here. Way too many to list. And now, since we're leaving St. Pete Beach, there's not much else to say until we get to Fort DeSoto Park, so I'll talk to you then. So now we're officially at Fort DeSoto Park, and Fort DeSoto Park has some notable history. The park is on what is known as Mullet Key, and it's where Spanish explorer Panfilo de Narvaez is thought to have landed along the western coast of Florida on April 15th, 1528. If I didn't pronounce that name right, then I guess I'm just stupid. But in 1539, Hernando de Soto, who the park is named after, arrived on a conquest that started on Mullet Key. And if you fast forward about 300 years, in 1849 the U.S. Army recommended that Egmont and Mullet Keys should be used by the military for coastal defense. Today, Egmont Key is a national wildlife refuge, and the island is only accessible by boat, while being located about a mile and a half southwest from the point of Mullet Key. Construction of the military fort on Mullet Key began in 1898, and by 1900 it was completed. And there was a fort on Egmont Key as well. However, neither Mullet or Egmont Key saw battle, so by 1923, both of the forts were abandoned while a single caretaker stayed at each fort after that. Skipping ahead 20 years, in 1940, Mullet Key was actually a bombing range used by the government, but the land was sold back to Pinellas County in 1948, and Fort DeSoto Park, as we know it today, was created in 1963. There's also quite a few relics on display at Fort DeSoto Park that I didn't get to while I was here, so if you like that kind of stuff and if you're in the Tampa Bay area, you would probably enjoy visiting Fort DeSoto Park. It also doesn't hurt that the entirety of Mullet Key is a part of the park, meaning that it's undeveloped and there's over 5 miles of shoreline. Lastly, I was able to capture some drone shots of Fort DeSoto Park, which has a beautiful landscape, and despite most of Florida's coastline being developed, it's nice to see that some areas at least have been reserved for nature, such as Fort DeSoto Park. With that said, I do end the video here, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, as doing all of those things helps these videos destroy the evil monster that is the YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure to hit that notification bell and select yes, so that you can be notified every time that I upload a new video. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy checking out some of the featured playlists on this channel. Videos with amazing insights on other places like what you saw here can be found in my Florida playlist, my Gulf Coast Cities and Towns playlist, my Tourist Towns playlist, or in my Scenic Drives playlist. Last but not least, if you can't get enough of me on here, you can always go follow me on my other social media accounts, and those links are below. We'll see you next time. Peace.